I'm curious what you can say to Alberta parents because they're sitting there going, what is going on? And how do we get our kids back in the classroom?
Well, I'm disappointed too. I mean, I believe in the collective bargaining process. And so when the AT leadership came to us and said, these are the things it would take to get to a deal, we said, yes, yes, yes. We got to a deal and the teachers rejected it. So we came back again and they said, okay, well, here are three new things we think they need to get to a deal. We said no to one, said yes to another, and compromised on the third. They took it back to the teachers and the teachers rejected it by an even larger margin. So I think there's a bit of a disconnect between the union leadership and their membership if they don't quite know what it is it would take to get to a deal. I think we're getting a pretty good idea. We launched a review to find out how teachers were feeling about how to address the issue of complexity in the classroom and aggression in the classroom. And so that's why we know hiring more teachers, hiring more education assistants, that is going to be the pathway for us to address the concerns that we're hearing from teachers on the ground. The wage offer is very fair. If you look at what we're offering at the gross level, by the time we get to 2027, it will be just slightly behind the top level in Manitoba. After our taxes, they will be ahead of every other teacher in similar categories by thousands of dollars. So I really don't think it's about more dollars for each individual teacher. There's a lot of parents who don't make 100,000 a year, and a tenured teacher with 5 years of training will make $115,000. So I think that I don't think it's really the salary issue, but it is those complexity issues, and so that's why we've been encouraging the teachers union to really find out from their teachers what it is that they think they need to get to a settlement. Come back to us with a reasonable proposal that we can afford. We are, of course, facing a $6.5 billion deficit this year after a few years of surplus. So there are some limits on what taxpayers are able to afford. And we'll see if they're able to come up with a package that will get us to a negotiated settlement. We're back at the table, and I hope we're successful.
Nahid Nenshi says you provoked this. And I shouldn't just point him out, although he is the official opposition. So I looked at, I was scrolling through things, trying to figure out, what's going on, what's the other side saying, going back and forth. And one of the things that I kept stumbling into is that the UCP has provoked this, and I'm like, provoked it, okay. Well, then I lean on the numbers because you got to okay. Well, let's look at the numbers and see what the story tells. So when I'm looking for the numbers, I go to the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. Got a ton of time for them, and they Alberta taxpayers are projected to spend 10.4 billion this year on K to 12. The year before that was 9.2. The year before that 8.8. The year before that 8.3. As Chris Sims would say, increasing spending on education is an odd way to provoke a fight with teachers. But maybe I'm missing something, Premier. Maybe you could address that. Are you provoking this? I don't see it, but I don't have maybe everything in front of me.
Well, there's been a few things. I mean, there are some decisions that we had to make from a policy point of view that we heard from parents that they wanted to see. One was cell phone bans in the classroom. We were seeing that school boards weren't proactively able to address that across their boards, but we were hearing over and over again, even from teachers, that it was creating distractions in the classroom. So we passed policy there. We heard from teachers or from parents as well, grave concern about stories that their kids might be transitioning gender in schools and not the parents weren't told about it, so we had to address that. And we heard that there were some pretty racy graphic images of pornographic images of in school books and libraries for that were available to elementary kids, so we had to address that too. So we don't try to micromanage what is happening in the schools, but when we identify issues that parents are concerned about, we address them. And if that's provocative, I hope not, it shouldn't be. I mean, what I had hoped would happen in each of those is that teachers would say, thank you. We don't want schools to cell phones in the classroom either. And we don't think that young children should see pornographic images. And we agree that parents should be involved in really important decisions around the identity of their children. That's kind of what we would hope. And we've had many teachers who've said that too. So if that's what he's getting at, then I would say that it kind of misses the mark. I think what we need to do is make sure we're running a public education system that is aligned with what parents are asking us and aligned with parents' values. And so I hope that that's not what they're referring to. One thing that is no doubt a problem is that we have not been able to keep up with the dramatic number of newcomers coming to the province. When we had our Alberta's Calling campaign, I think we went in thinking that we were having a normal amount of immigration in the country, which was about zero point 0.6 to 1% of the population. If you look at the number of newcomers who came to the country between 2009 and 2019, it was less than 300,000 a year. I don't think anyone knew that post COVID we would see 1.5 to 2 million people a year coming into the country, and so what was happening is Alberta was getting a larger percentage of people moving here than our population was able to support. And we're seeing it in the classrooms. We had 80,000 more students come into the schools in 3 years. You just can't build schools fast enough. Many of those kids come from war torn places. So there's trauma, there's different levels of education because of disruption, there's English language learning issues. So all of those things have put additional pressure on teachers. We've done what we can to keep up. We've announced the school construction program. We announced complexity funding. We're prepared to give $2.6 billion more to address them. So I do know that there has been a lot of pressure. But part of that is the federal government having really taken all of the reins off any of the restrictions that they had on the various programs, and it's put a huge pressure on all of our social programs, and including and maybe especially education, and that's what we're trying to respond to.
You know, when you bring up the pornographic novels, I think when we were discussing it on our show, you know, we watched the Edmonton Public School Board with the banning of books and their school libraries like Atlas Shrugged, and they tried making it out to be something it wasn't. And that was a very odd thing to see in real time, knowing the books that you were actually talking about. And if you just took 10 seconds to go look it up, you're like, nope, don't even need to flip through some of that stuff. Like it's just pretty black and white. When you see, you know, like, I don't know, I guess I just look at this strike and I go like, is it politically motivated? Like, do you give any credence to that? Like, you've had your dealings with different parts of this with the pornographic novels. Now you get a strike where it seems like all you're saying yes to pretty much every demand. Okay, yeah, okay, yep, yeah, that sounds okay. We're going to increase funding. We're going to do all these things. We're going to build you a whole bunch of new schools because we got lots of kids. And it's just like, no, that's not enough. Like, does it
Yeah,
get to politically motivated?
well, it's hard for me to know. I do sometimes ask the question of when the NDP were in power and they offered zero and zero and zero and zero, four zeros, they didn't face labor action. We're offering not only 12%, which makes them the highest paid in Western Canada, but also adjusting the grid so that at each level of the pay scale, we have a common amount, so it's not variable across all of the province, and 3,000 teachers and 1,500 education assistants. You have to wonder if the NDP were putting this on the table, would the answer still be no? And I hope it's not partisan, but that's what we've been trying to do. Separate. This wasn't a vote on how you would vote in the next election. It was a vote on the pay package. It was a vote on do you accept the levels that we're prepared to pay from a salary point of view? Do you accept that we need to hire 3,000 more teachers and 1,500 more education assistants? And I would have thought that the answer would be yes. And if those aren't the issues, then it's up to the teachers union to tell us what they are.
One final one then on the teacher strike. Well, and I don't know if you can comment on this, but I'll fire anyways. Um, we've been watching the Canada Post strike, right? Like this has been ongoing, and one of the things as it's dragged on is their signing bonus, their pay, getting back pay signing bonus. They just took it off the table. No,
Mm-hmm.
not getting that. And now you've seen that when it comes to the Alberta teachers, they're not getting paid right now. Which, if I was a teacher, I'd be going, where did that money go? Because I mean, 23 years of no strikes, that's a lot of money. You could look at where's the money going. Will there be like in will you take a similar tactic? I don't know if it's tactics the right word, but you know, we're seeing it with the Liberals and the Canada Post, no signing bonus. Done. Move on. With the teachers, I assume they're going to look for back pay. I assume that's what the union's going to try and do. Maybe I'm assuming too much. Is that something you can comment on?
Well, the money won't be there. We're giving that money to parents. Parents are, as taxpayers, pay money for their kids to be educated. And the fact that their kids have been out of school for a week, and now we're into our second week, we're giving those dollars to parents so that they can help defray the cost of childcare and maybe hire a tutor to be able to assist their kids in keeping up with the lessons plans. So that money is coming out of the money that we're saving by by not having to pay teacher salaries. So there isn't a pot of money growing to be able to pay a signing bonus. And that's why we hope that teachers get back to I hope that they get back to the classroom quickly. I don't want them to be hurt either. It's going to be, maybe you should have Jason Schilling on to see why it is the
Well,
ATA didn't have a policy of putting money aside to pay for strike pay. But I think you're asking a question that I'm hearing many teachers ask as well.
just so we're clear, I did send a message out to Jason Schilling because I thought it would be very interesting to have that voice talk about what they're looking for. And it's been crickets. So maybe I'll hear this and maybe they'll shoot me a text, and would love to have them on because I think it'd be interesting to have that chat because, once again, parents are going, what is going on? So I guess a no to a signing bonus because the money, as you pointed out, is coming to families of kids 12 and under, if I remember the details correct.
Yep, that's correct.
Hey, folks, thanks so much for checking out the clip from the Sean Newman podcast. If you've enjoyed this part of the conversation, you can find the full conversation right here on YouTube. The link is in the description. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, and join us for more insightful chats here every week, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. We're releasing new content. We'll see you on the next one.